school, I was in a physics master's program, and a professor told me something that really just kind of broke my heart and changed a lot for me. I had just taken one of the PhD qualifying exams, so when you're trying to do a PhD program to make sure that you know your stuff and you're kind of prepared to continue doing the graduate work, you have to take these exams. And now at my school, if you were in the master's program, you got a shot at the exams without necessarily being in the PhD program. Like, you could try and take the exams to see how it went, which was really nice, actually. And that's why I just signed up for one, not feeling super prepared, but I signed up for one in hopes of it going well. And let's just say it didn't. I've never been a good test taker. I've always been someone who, I can retain small amounts of information, but I kind of panic on the spot. And I was constantly one of the worst students in my cohort in the physics classes. I would get, C's on quizzes while people got B's and A's. And knowing what I know now, it's just about time for me. I just need more time. Anyway, I was great at the hands-on work. I was really good at my labs, writing lab reports, instrumentation, measurements, stuff like that. I really ended up enjoying applied physics, electronics, device physics, circuits, stuff like that. But I was not very good at theory. So I wasn't very good at quantum mechanics. I wasn't very good at math. I was better than the average person at math, but I was worse than the average physics student at math. So anyway, I took these exams. I did not do well. I scheduled a meeting with the professor. He kind of gave us the option to. I just wanted to go over the solutions so that I could, write them down, look at it, figure it out. And again, I was a master's student feeling like it was a free shot at this, that it didn't really matter that much because I wasn't in the PhD program yet. He looks at me on this Zoom meeting and he says, "I think you should reconsider career paths. I can't believe how wrong some of your answers are." And in the moment, I was so heartbroken that I panicked. I started crying. I shut my laptop on our Zoom meeting. I had this huge freak out, just a full-blown panic attack, honestly. And I didn't really want to tell anybody about it for a little while because I felt super embarrassed. I felt really embarrassed that, I did so poorly at this thing that I've worked on for 5 or 6 years now, to the point where someone in my department wanted me to leave. Everyone around me had this attitude of, that really sucks, but you need to toughen up. Life sucks. It's only gonna get harder. You can't let this stuff hurt you. You need to have thicker skin. To be fair, sure, there are going to be people who react like this to all situations with superiority or anger or frustration, but I've always resented that idea. I've always felt like maybe everyone else could stand to be a little bit softer. The world could stand to be a little bit softer. I know that's idealistic, but whatever. This is a little tale, a little story, if you will, about finding yourself through a creative practice, how I coped with this experience, and why I think you should make art too, even if it's just for yourself. I ended up finishing the degree, whatever. I did have an advisor at the time who I went to and I talked to about this, and she was really supportive, and she got a lot put in place actually after I went to her with this for the physics department to be a little bit more willing to work with people in different places in their education. Okay, let's just put it that way. So I finished my degree, but I was pretty discouraged. I wasn't really interested in staying in industry or staying in academia. My thesis was education focused, so I decided to find a teaching job. I got really into science learning and all of that. I was really interested in the work I was doing. Suddenly I was really excited by kids' innate knowledge of physics, even though they don't know what they know, but they know that things fall down, right? So I landed a great physics teaching job in a really good district. This was a district that had money towards education. Education was very valued here, so I knew that I was going to get students who were at least more prepared to take on a physics class than maybe some other students might be, right, based on their situation. By the end of the year, though, something was really, really wrong. By June, I took a leave for the rest of the year and entered treatment because I couldn't stop having panic attacks in my classroom. This was crazy. I was puking in my prep room every day. Specifically, I attended this partial hospitalization program, or a day program for behavioral health. So if you're not familiar with these programs, there's longer term admission inpatient treatments. That's where you're staying at the hospital There's residential, where you're staying at the hospital long term. And then there's something like I did, which was like a day program. So you went there Monday through Friday, every day for the whole day, but you didn't sleep there or anything. It was called intensive outpatient. So I actually really loved that program. My days were filled with workshops and lectures on different coping mechanisms, emotional regulation tactics, therapeutic approaches, etc. I did have to be fully sober for the program. Let's just say I live in a state where jazz cigarettes are legal, and giving up my main vice left me so restless and bored. So that's when I posted to a neighborhood Facebook group. I said, hey, does anyone have any painting supplies they don't use? I'm in this program and I really need something to do, especially while sitting through these workshops. It was on Zoom, I should say. I didn't actually have to go to the hospital, so I think the program might be even more effective if I had to go to the hospital, but I didn't. But yeah, I said, hey, anyone have any painting supplies they don't use? And someone came through, someone commented, offered me this whole kit basically. It had a bag of small canvases, acrylic paints, brushes, a blending medium. It even had a varnish. So I got right to painting. And so, my first paintings, they were not amazing, of course. I actually feel quite proud looking at them either way. I could see how my lifelong creativity was still shining through this new medium that I kind of picked up. So that was pretty cool. That was 2021, 2022. I forget. Either way, it's definitely been over a year. I've been painting, or at least trying to maintain a consistent art practice since then. I've learned a lot about kind of the connection between emotions and having this sort of creative practice. And so what I really wanted to talk about, what I wanted to make a video about, why I think everyone could benefit from doing something creative, as often as they can. So as you can probably tell from what I've said so far, I set pretty high expectations for myself, and I'm someone who's mentally tortured when I don't meet them. I felt like a failure as a physicist, I felt like a failure as a teacher, and when I first started painting, I didn't necessarily feel very good about my art either. The types of people who won't start something out of fear of not being good enough, from the very beginning, from the get-go? That is me, but as if my entire existence depended on it. It's like I was genuinely convinced that I would die of embarrassment any given second of the day. And while I still have that feeling sometimes, it's a lot less strong, so I am happy about that. But all of that is to say, it was really difficult for me to accept that I was not going to be a master at painting or drawing or any other art practice that I decided to pick up right away. I immediately had ideas that were bigger than my level of ability. I'd get angry that I couldn't get my ideas out on paper. Eventually, after lots of practice, I did start to notice something. That deep, heavy perfectionism was improving as a result of doing art regularly. You see, the great thing about traditional art is that it forces you to go with the flow, literally the flow of paint, right? You have to work with the decisions and marks you've made along the way. I'm not a believer that digital art is easier by any means. I'm someone who's gonna get obsessed about undoing and redoing the details on digital art. The only thing I really miss about having an iPad from the school was zooming in on Procreate kind of endlessly. But in any case, by keeping a sketchbook and drawing on everything and painting all these little paintings on canvas panels, just giving myself the permission to get ideas down and rework them as many times as needed, I actually started to trust my own choices and decisions from the beginning more often. While I have a lot of work to do with healing from this deep self-punishing perfectionism, pretty much all aspects of my life, I've noticed my ability to be flexible improving over the last year or so. And I really strongly believe that kind of developing an art practice where I'm, doing something that can't be perfect from the get-go so often is almost like a little bit of exposure therapy to that feeling. And now, disclaimer, I'm not a therapist. This is just my experience. Disclaimer. I really also think that developing this creative practice has lent itself to healing from the traumas that caused those panic attacks in the first place. If I can be a little bit embarrassed about my art, a little cringe about my art, then it's easy to be pretty embarrassed or cringe about, sending the wrong date on a calendar meeting at my corporate job. right? I want to empower you just to spend a little time with yourself doing something creative. Coloring books, coloring pages, sketchbook sessions, full-blown long-term projects like this one. If you want to explore the world of art practice to work through emotions, look back on traumas, spend mindful moments with yourself, I really encourage you to not wait any longer. That's also why I'm making this video. I was like, I want to make a YouTube video, and here I am. I'm making it. I don't care. I have a regular day job. I don't plan to change that anytime soon. If you found this video or my channel, you might notice this is the first video I ever posted. If you've stayed this long and you're interested in a self-taught artist's journey to pursue a mindfully creative life, then like and subscribe, all that shebang. I quit my teaching job just about a year ago. Almost exactly, even. So I guess in the end, I kind of agree with that professor. It is time to try a different path.